in the early 80s, some of the guys back then were just, I mean, I played against Billy Whitehurst and it was just almost criminal, some of the challenges that you saw.
He was tough, though.
It was a tough, it was a different game.
And next thing, you've just heard this whoosh, and Billy's grabbed him and pinned him up against wall. There he is, Billy in his leather jacket, fucking jeans, Ruddock's in his Southampton kit, like, what are you doing? You, he says, if you touch Brian Deane again in second half, go anywhere near him and kick him, I'll be waiting for you in this tunnel to fucking do your legs. And Ruddock goes, I'm telling you, grabbed him and just like dropped him.
Football fans love arguing about the most feared man in English football history. Roy Keane, Vinnie Jones, Duncan Ferguson. But the real answer might surprise everyone. Vinnie Jones himself once admitted on live television that he felt like a child standing in front of one particular man. This was a centre forward who once asked a doctor to use an office stapler on his own torn face during half-time, just so he could walk back out and keep terrorising his opponents. Stay with us as we uncover the story of Billy Whitehurst, the most terrifying hard man English football has ever produced. In early 1987, just 10 days before a match between Oxford United and Nottingham Forest, Billy Whitehurst had been attacked outside a bar with a metal cosh. His nose was broken, his face was torn open, and he needed more than 30 stitches around his head. Most players would have stayed home. Whitehurst told his manager, Maurice Evans, to put his name straight into the starting lineup. Late in the first half, Nottingham Forest goalkeeper Steve Sutton came rushing out to punch the ball clear and accidentally drove his fist directly into Whitehurst's freshly stitched nose. Every stitch tore open at once and blood poured down his shirt. Instead of asking to be substituted, Whitehurst walked calmly into the locker room. With no time to sew the wound properly, the team doctor used an ordinary office stapler to close the torn skin on his face, leaving a gash so wide that his teeth were visible from the outside. Journalist Rob Smith of The Guardian later described Whitehurst as the embodiment of pure, unfiltered violence on a football pitch. In an interview with The Guardian in 2009, Whitehurst recalled the moment with total indifference, saying the staples worked better than stitches ever could, even though he looked like Frankenstein's monster walking back onto the field. On December 26, 1987, Oxford United faced the dominant force of English football at the time, Liverpool, at the Manor Ground. Before kick-off, reporters announced that Whitehurst would miss the match entirely because of a serious head injury requiring 9 stitches. Liverpool's legendary defender Alan Hansen was relieved to hear the news, until he watched Whitehurst walk out of the tunnel anyway. Throughout the match, Whitehurst physically dominated Liverpool's famous defence. In a brutal aerial challenge with goalkeeper Bruce Grobbelaar, all 9 stitches on his head burst open, sending blood streaming down his face. When the team doctor rushed onto the pitch and insisted he leave immediately for his own safety, Whitehurst grabbed him by the shirt and warned that he would be killed on the spot if he dared pull him off. Whitehurst played every remaining minute of the match. In his autobiography, Alan Hansen wrote that no modern striker could destroy an opponent physically the way Billy Whitehurst did that day. He described Whitehurst as completely fearless, playing an entire match with 9 torn stitches and threatening to harm the medical staff rather than leave the field. Hansen admitted he used to check the fixture list at the start of every season, just to know when he would have to face him again. During the 1990 to 1991 season, Billy Whitehurst and the notorious Vinnie Jones were teammates at Sheffield United under manager Dave Bassett. Jones had just arrived with a loud reputation as the hardest man in English football and a habit of disrespecting his new teammates. One morning, Jones proudly parked his brand new BMW 7 Series in the middle of the training ground car park. Whitehurst, who was driving an old, rusted, dented car, decided his younger teammate needed a lesson in respect. He drove his battered vehicle straight into the side of Jones's gleaming car, creating a loud crash of crumpled metal. He then walked calmly into the locker room and told Jones someone had just smashed his new BMW outside. When Jones exploded with anger, demanding to know who was responsible, Whitehurst looked him straight in the eye and simply said it was him. Then asked what Jones planned to do about it. Vinnie Jones, a man feared across the league, said nothing at all. Former teammate Carlton Palmer later recalled on the podcast Under the Cosh that this single moment proved exactly who the real ruler of English football's hardest men truly was. In a match between Southampton and Sheffield United, Southampton defender Neil Ruddock repeatedly used rough, punishing tackles to intimidate Sheffield United's young striker Brian Deane. That day, Billy Whitehurst was not even in the starting lineup. He sat in the stands, wearing a smart suit, watching the entire first half. The moment the half-time whistle blew, Whitehurst jumped straight down from the stands and onto the pitch. Security staff could only watch in shock as he marched up to Ruddock, grabbed his shirt with both hands, and tore it apart in one violent pull. The shirt ripped so badly that it looked like nothing more than a buttonless cardigan. Whitehurst leaned in close to Ruddock's ear and warned him never to touch Deane again. Because the club had only brought one shirt per player that day, Ruddock had no choice but to play the entire second half in the torn shirt, tucked up awkwardly toward his chest. Neil Ruddock later admitted on a podcast in 2020 that Whitehurst terrified him completely, describing how he was forced to play the second half wearing what looked like an old woman's cardigan, and calling Whitehurst an extremely dangerous man. During the 1990 to 1991 season, manager Dave Bassett had brought Whitehurst to Sheffield United specifically to protect talented young striker Brian Deane from rough treatment by opposing defenders. Off the pitch, tension between Sheffield United and their fierce city rival Sheffield Wednesday always ran extremely high. One evening, a group of Sheffield United players, including Vinnie Jones, Brian Deane and Billy Whitehurst, were having drinks at a local bar when a group of Sheffield Wednesday supporters recognised them and began taunting them. After an exchange of insults, one supporter threw a broken beer bottle that struck a young player in the face. When Whitehurst turned to confront the group, one large man stepped forward and challenged him directly. Without hesitation, Whitehurst suggested they settle things outside. The moment they stepped through the door, he threw a single right hook so powerful that the man collapsed instantly onto the pavement. For a moment, Whitehurst himself feared he had killed him. The next morning, detectives from the Criminal Investigation Department arrived at the Sheffield United training ground. Rather than making an arrest, they asked the players to sign statements as witnesses, confirming that Whitehurst had acted in self-defence against a group that started the confrontation. Vinnie Jones later called it one of the most frightening punches he had ever witnessed, inside a ring or outside one. Across 16 years in English football, Billy Whitehurst played more than 450 professional matches and scored 99 goals, with 69 of them coming during 2 spells at Hull City. In December 1985, Newcastle United paid a club record fee of £232,000 to sign him, proof of how seriously his physical presence was valued. Unlike Gary Lineker or Alan Shearer, Whitehurst never won fans over with finishing. He won by breaking opponents down mentally. Speaking on a talk show in 2026, Vinnie Jones admitted that everyone assumed he was the most feared man in football, but in front of Billy Whitehurst, he felt like a child. So Bobby Charlton once said the most influential player on the pitch that day was not Gascoigne or Beardsley, but Whitehurst himself. Former Arsenal defender Martin Keown told 442 magazine in January 2025 that nobody could match Whitehurst in a real fight. After retiring, Whitehurst lived a quiet life training greyhounds in Yorkshire. So tell us, who do you believe deserves the title of football's true hard man? Leave your answer below and don't forget to subscribe.